In the previous chapter, we reconciled expenses by doing an upload of information from the accounting file and the bank statements and then comparing them and then trying to produce this report where the differences showed up in a spreadsheet. And we identified 3 potential errors. What we need to do now is adjust the bank to finally make it balance in terms of the expense side. And in MOV, the best way to do this is just to produce your bank reconciliation report for the 30th of September, and then we have here all our expenses. Now the first comment I'm going to make is that when you look at the previous chapter, there were 3 errors supposedly in our expenses. In fact, there are only 2. And the reason why that report is showing 3 when there's only 2, it's not a perfect report. It is a time-saving exercise. Its main function is to stop you having to tick off all the statements by bringing you quickly to where the problem areas are. And if you look at the previous chapter, you will see that some of the sequencing of the expenses are slightly out because the figures had changed. But remember, the zeros that you get are important at the end of the column, so you know with that report it points you quickly to where the problems might lie. Now if you look back at that report, have a problem with this account here. This amount of 589.20 should in fact be 589.26 per the bank statements, and this one here, the 809, should in fact be 890. So all we have to do is go and change those. So let's change this 809 to 890, and we will save that one, and the 589.20 to 589.26, and we will alter this one, and we have now adjusted our bank. So we can refresh our bank reconciliation, and what should happen now hopefully is you should have a balanced bank, and we will just do this by comparing it to the bank statements. We now are showing an expected balance on the bank statement of 19,085.43. We get our bank statement and we have 19,085.43. We have a balanced bank account. What you should do now is print that report, and the reason you print it is because when you're using electronic data files, the data can change, but printouts can't, and it's worth printing it as a PDF or as a physical document and keeping it separately to ensure that it was clear that the bank was balanced because you've got a fixed work paper. This concludes the basic course on reconciling an imbalanced bank. Remember, it is a series of techniques to speed up the rec rather than a process of demonstrating the reconciliation itself. The other part of the process is that this is the sort of steps that we use in expert software systems to make sure that accountants operating overseas who are not as familiar with programs like MOV and QuickBooks and other programs used in Australia, these are the steps and applications we use to make sure these accountants are fully aware of exactly how to do the processing when they log into and process online on behalf of Australian clients. Now, in the last chapter, I just want to go over a work paper that I think you should complete, and this is in the exercise file. Please feel free to download this. It's a great checklist that if you're having someone doing a bank rec that isn't balancing, you give it to them and ask them to tick it off. There's nothing like having a tick off of the actual steps that you need to do and have them signed off to try and control the processes. And again, when bank reconciliations are done on an offshoring basis, the accountants overseas provide these reconciliation statements so we know those steps have been completed, and this process of reconciling the bank happens quite quickly.